Welcome to Behind the Business. I'm Faheem Savja, and on every episode, we go beyond the business plans and discover the real life and untold stories of today's entrepreneurs. It's time for the people behind the business. Let's get into it. Awesome. Jiten, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you coming down on a snowy day in Toronto.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to talk to you because I wanted to hear about your wild story, man.
Yeah.
Like Dip Donuts, downtown Toronto, 2 locations. How did it start?
Mhm.
And like why donuts?
Why donuts? So as you can tell from my accent, I'm from England. So I moved from England back in 2014. I luckily got sponsored by my brother. He lives in Vancouver now, but I got sponsored by him to move over.
Got it.
Went to Ottawa first, where he lived at the time. And when I was in Ottawa, there was a place called Suzy Q's.
Oh, I love Suzy Q's.
Have you been there?
I've been there. I lived in Ottawa for about 6 years. So
No way.
if you don't know Suzy Q's and you live in Ottawa,
I know, right? I
something's
actually met
wrong.
somebody yesterday and they said they don't know about Suzy Q's.
You're kidding.
Yeah, and they're from Ottawa. It's
No
so funny.
way.
So I went there and I was like, these donuts are fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And we kept going there like every week. It's like the space to be, and there was lines out the door.
Of course.
And it was their little shack place, their first ever place, right?
Yeah,
$2.50 for a donut. And it was always in the back of my mind. And then I moved to Toronto.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me get an office job. And the reason why I wanted to get an office job was to see how much I would hate getting an office job. So
That was a test?
Yeah.
No.
Because
way.
I'd never had a job before. Because I was back in the UK and I was doing
Yeah.
my own thing. And then I had a few injuries of getting through like some surgery and stuff.
Yeah.
So I never really had an office job. I actually want to see if I liked it or not.
Okay.
And if I hated it, then at least that gives me the push to like do something else.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I got a job selling financial research. I was terrible at it. And if I don't like sales, if I don't like what's it called? If I don't like the thing I'm selling or don't
Yeah.
understand it, I'm not going to be good at it. There's some people who are amazing at sales; they can sell anything.
Sure.
I can't do it unless I like it.
Mhm.
Anyway, I was there, hated it within 2 weeks. My colleagues were amazing. It was great working with them. Surprisingly, I stayed there for 1.5 years.
Wow.
I was terrible at sales. I don't know how I kept it. I guess I sold myself really well. I just couldn't sell.
Sure.
And then the donuts were in the back of my mind the whole time. And then hit 2015, end of 2015, and I was like, let me just try the donuts in the city and see how it is. So I went to a couple of donut shops, gourmet donut shops in the city,
Mhm.
and I was like, they're terrible.
Mhm.
And I was like, one doesn't have any flavor. One, the dough wasn't even fried properly. One, like, it was just too sweet. And these were gourmet $5 a donut shops. And I was
Whoa.
like, how are you gonna be? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And so I started testing it myself. And the first day I made it, I burnt like the whole set of donuts. Second time I did it, I was testing it in the kitchen and
Like
just giving
you're testing at home. Like
Yeah.
You're no way. Okay.
Yeah. My Kensington Market, like cockroach-ridden kitchen, just testing it out, just giving to my friends and stuff. Not cockroaches, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
And then I talked to, because I lived in Kensington Market, there's a place called Rasta Pasta.
Yeah.
And the guy who owns it is a lovely guy. His name is Magnus. Shout out to Magnus. And I said to him, can I sell my donuts outside of your shop on Pedestrian Sundays? Now, Pedestrian Sundays is a festival that happens in Toronto, in Kensington Market, every last Sunday of the month from May till October.
Got it.
And that's when the whole street shuts down, no cars are allowed, and you can just set up a stall and sell whatever you want to. And so he's like, yeah, come in, make your dough here, proof it, fry it, etc. So
Wow.
I tried it out, sold out, tried it out again. And throughout that period, like there were times where we sold out, times where we didn't, etc. And then we just kept perfecting the dough and stuff. And I was like, you know what, there's a business somewhere here. I think I can make it good. So then I quit my job. I found a job I worked for the Mac and Cheese Festival selling like vendor spots. And I met some, like, I just wanted to meet chefs and business owners. That was my aim, just to like network.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that. And then during that time, I was like making donuts on the side and just figuring it out and like renting kitchens and stuff like that.
No way.
Then I got like a cafe that would carry it. Then I got another cafe. Then I got Jimmy's Coffee.
Nice.
And then I got all these different cafes carrying my donuts. And I was like renting out a small, tiny kitchen.
Yeah.
And during that time, like the donuts weren't like what they are now. The donuts now are like amazing, but compared to then, they were dense. They were not great, but the flavors were there.
Right.
And so we just kept testing. And then 1.5 years into it, by like 2017, I was like, I really want to get a spot. So we started looking, and then, you know, those times where we're like, okay, maybe not, maybe yes. And then 2018 hit, and then we decided to take a spot in Kensington Market. The guy from Rastapasta Magnus, he told me there's a spot around the corner. They're going, they're leaving, so you have to buy the business out, but then you can turn it into a donut shop. So I bought the business out.
No way.
And then just turn it into a donut shop. And like,
was that business also did it have all the equipment you needed?
Yes and no. It was a cafe.
Mm.
It was called Average Joe's. So it was a brunch place.
Got it.
And so it was silly for me to buy the business, but I mean, I couldn't find anything else in Kensington, and I knew Kensington was the spot. Now the issue was that it was not in central Kensington. It was like just around the corner on Baldwin Street, where nobody walks, or like there's cars parked in front of the shop.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is the only place I could find with a good rent. So I took it over, bought him out, renovated the place, and then moved everything in, repainted the place, etc. First it was black, like all the walls are black, because my aim was to put graffiti everywhere. It was a terrible idea. Built like our own like shelves and stuff like that, and then we just started selling from there. And then
crazy,
like, you know, I had some staff members, had a manager, and the first day we got like $600, $400. Like, this is amazing. But I didn't think about staff pay. I mean, obviously I have to pay my staff, but I didn't know about CPP, EI, all that type of stuff. And so like after a couple of weeks like opening, then we had a person that came in, she took a photo, BlogTR reposted it, and the next second I turn around, there's like a line out the door. And then just for a full year, it was just every day lines.
Unreal.
So we were making like on the weekend, because we would come in at like 4 a.m, make dough, fry it, and then we just continuously make dough throughout the day.
Unreal.
And we would make about on a weekend we'll make about 800 donuts on a Saturday and a Sunday, and we were selling it cheap. We were selling at $3, $2 something each, because in my head I was like, I want to be able to do the queues. But I didn't realize that we could have sold it for even more. But my aim was to just get eyes on the business. So yeah, it was great. It was great.
Unreal.
And then the pandemic kicked in. The pandemic. So
actually, I'm actually really curious. Like for a lot of businesses, I mean, Toronto and other major cities, of course, like the pandemic really hit. Right? Did you have to pivot or do something else?
Yes and no.
Okay.
The pandemic for us actually wasn't too bad.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So it kicked in. Obviously, your sales drop.
Of course.
Toronto people are lovely. They were there to support small businesses as much as possible.
Unreal.
The amount of emails, the amount of people that came by the store saying, "I'm glad you're open. I'm glad you're here," and blah blah blah. Like on Mother's Day, where I didn't expect to be busy, we had a line literally out around the corner.
Unreal. And
we couldn't handle it. Like, it was insane. I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
And for the first year of the pandemic was amazing. And then after that, when it came to 2021, 2022 is when you start feeling the effects of like the price increase of ingredients. People are getting a bit more restless with the fact they have to stay at home or they're 6 foot apart, etc. And then people start, like near the end of 2021 is when people started to like slow down their spending, and that's when you really felt the hit of the pandemic. And I made a lot of mistakes during the pandemic, which I didn't realize. Like hindsight, you realize, like, you know, managerial wise, you should pick more better managers. I spent a lot of money doing that. I didn't have a good online presence, so people could easily order for pickup. You didn't have like your set boxes, etc. I was spending my money on silly things, or didn't have my SOPs in place, my standard operating procedures. And during that time, I didn't realize, because you're just in survival mode. So you're like, okay, I need to calm down. I need to figure out how we're going to survive right now. I bought a house at the same time as well. So you're like, okay, I got to pay my mortgage, but I've also got to survive. So during the pandemic itself, like 2020, 2021, start of 2022, not too bad. By the mid 2022, like probably May onwards, is when things started to go really bad. So yeah.
Wow. I think it's interesting. Like a lot of business owners who went through the pandemic, you know, didn't survive, frankly. Right? Like they had to close. Was there any point when you debated closing?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think we had such a good product
that
we didn't need to. we were still making sales.
Yeah.
So in Kensington, no, like it was just cash flow was an issue, not by sales itself.
Yeah.
It was just where the money was going from my account. So,
Okay, I got it.
because I got very competitive. So I was like, okay, this company is paying their manager $23 an hour. I'm going to pay my manager $25 or something like that, without realizing, okay, they have investors and they have X, Y, and Z, or just not having the right way to sell your product, or the different avenues. And then I think at the end of the pandemic, I realized a lot that marketing really is key to your business.
Yeah.
Because all I focused on was a product. That's all I cared about. You don't realize that marketing and branding for your company means a lot for customers.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when you say we, like you're referring to, you opening it up, like, do you work with someone to take care of that stuff for you, or is it really just you?
Just myself.
Unreal.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, like, recently you do campaigns with other brands to try and increase awareness, is that you behind the scenes and you really kind of driving the force still?
Yeah. I mean, I have my social media manager, and she comes up with the verbiage. Sure. Or like a photo or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was myself that thought of the idea, and then I reached out to a bunch of companies and stuff like that.
Unreal, man. It sounds like Kensington for you is really what drove, like, Dip Donuts, right? Like the community that Kensington gave you, and even like some of the inspiration, it seems like, right? Like the graffiti on the walls and all of that cool stuff. But now you have more than one location. Yeah. How did that come about? At what point were you like, I really want to expand this thing?
I've always thought about that. Yeah. So even when we opened in 2019, like our revenue in 2019 was $500,000 straight out the bat, because we did well. Like profit was great. And I was like, I've always wanted to open up a second location. I always knew I wanted to open up multiple locations. And so, and I already had a plan in my head on how I would open them up. Yeah. And so the thing with donuts is there's so many ways to make it. And the way we make it is we do a 24-hour rise, and we put it in the fridge, and we let it like rise slowly, and it gains flavor, etc. The way we were doing it in Kensington was we were just making it on the day, cutting and frying, which means less stable donuts. So there was days where they weren't great, and there was days where they were really good. Because like the weather was an issue. Our landlord, who was the government, they had cut a hole in our vent, so there's freezing cold air coming in for like 5 years. So in the winter, like my staff had to wear like jackets inside. Oh my god. Yeah, it's crazy. We had to switch on all the ovens just to keep the place warm. Unreal. It was insane. And it was the landlord's the government. And it took them 5 years to like fix it up. Oh my god. We're doing a dispute right now because they've doubled our rent. When it hit 2020, 2021, even during the pandemic, I was like, I really want to get another location. Yeah. Because I want production to be better. I want to be able to mass produce so we can decrease our labor costs, decrease costs in general, and then be able to ship out to different locations. And either fry on site there, or like fry beforehand and ship it out to make sure that they're fresh, etc. Yeah. That was always on the back of my mind. And then when it hit last year, 2023, I was like, I really need to do this. Because Kensington, the issue with it was really small, and the labor was so high because everyone had to come in every single day and cut donuts. And so we wanted to be able to like have a bigger location to handle that. And like, you don't have to make this much dough every single day to cut or whatever like that. Yeah. So 2023 we're looking, and then I actually really wanted to move to the east side. And then the guy from the west side reached out to me, my landlord, and he was like, I really love your donuts. I think it'll do really well in Parkdale. And Parkdale was Glory Hole Donuts spot. And they had left already. So we were like, oh yeah, let's check it out. I saw it. It's a beautiful spot. Absolutely beautiful. Brick walls, exposed brick, etc. And I was like, yeah, let's try it out. It's much higher rent than what I'm paying in Kensington, but it's a risk I'm willing to take and see what happens.
And so from what I know, you're also in the stores day to day too. Like, how do you have the time to say, okay, here's what I got to focus on in terms of expansion, but then also day to day be there physically? Or do you just not sleep?
Yeah, basically. I haven't slept in a couple of days. You just got to figure it out. Kensington's self-running right now. Yeah. I hardly go there. I have a really good team. The
Got it.
main thing is you have a really good team.
For sure.
So my team are fucking amazing. So
Unreal.
Kensington is run itself. Like I can go there once a week and just to make sure things are good.
Yeah.
Queen is where you're like, okay, I need to be here and figure out how to make money in this location.
Got you. Yeah, got you. It's funny. I've talked to other folks on this podcast, a few that we know, like Razik, who's building out Buddha Burger in Austin, and one of the things that he brought to light for me, because I didn't really know so much about that industry, was that the people matter so much.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Like in any given day, you can have somebody leave and want to do their own thing, or
Yep.
start something on their own, or move jobs,
Mhm.
right? How have you been able to manage, at least with Kensington, to make sure that your team is rock solid?
It took a big learning curve.
Yeah.
And it was actually a conversation I had with Razik as well.
Nice.
The first team I had there were great. We were there for a good 3 years, everyone there,
Mm-hmm.
and we built a solid foundation. But the issue was it was such a tight space
Mm-hmm.
that as an owner, I couldn't step away from them. Like I couldn't keep a distance. I knew everybody's life and etc. So they stopped respecting me as an owner. And then, it's also.
Did you find you have to have that like separation between them, or like how did you establish being an owner versus being like an employee and a friend?
I didn't realize until like 2.5 years into it.
Yeah.
To 3 years, yeah. I didn't realize that until the pandemic. Like I was like, okay, there's a lot of negative. Why am I so stressed all the time?
Mm-hmm.
One staff member who's negative can affect the whole team.
Yeah.
And that's what was happening. You have to have a good manager to handle the team and not bitch and moan about little things.
For sure.
And I didn't realize that until the pandemic. And my manager at the time, she's a very negative person, very lovely person, but very negative. And she was always bitching and moaning.
Yeah.
And I just realized like I need a better team.
Yeah.
And so it took a lot of, and I'm terrible at hiring. I hate hiring.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of like trial and error. I hired so many managers, lost so much money hiring bad managers. And some of it's my fault because I didn't have, actually everything I would say would be, it's always the owner's fault because you have to know what to do
Yeah.
in order to run the business. So, and I'm very hard on myself. So I was like, you have to have the standard operating procedures in place or learn how to train your managers,
Mm-hmm.
etc. So, it just took a long time of trial and error for a couple of years, hiring and firing, a lot of arguments, etc.
Yeah.
Now, like I hired one guy, he's my pastry chef, he's great. He worked for us beforehand. And then his girlfriend joined, and then my dough manager and his wife joined, and
Wow.
then I had like a Mexican guy and his now girlfriend who's Japanese who also worked for me. So
Unreal.
them guys were like amazing. They started forming a foundation,
Yeah.
and then we slowly like started building the team. So
Unreal.
we have a really good team. Like obviously you get your bad apples.
Sure.
I had to fire somebody recently,
Mhm.
and you just gotta wait them out. But I realized over time, like you can't. I always expect the best in people. I'm always optimistic,
Yeah.
and if they do something bad, I'll be like, oh well, you know what?
There's a reason for
There's
it.
a reason for
yeah.
it, or I'll be like, oh, they didn't do this, but you know what? I didn't do it either, so I can't blame them for not doing it
For
if
sure.
I don't do it.
Right.
But now I realize I was like, you know what? If I have everything set in place and they can't follow the rules,
Yeah.
then just
Yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense, man.
Mhm.
Especially at a point in your business when you're really trying to grow, right?
Mhm.
Like clearly Kensington is doing quite well and,
Mhm.
and you're happy with it. But what's also important from what I'm hearing is like, you got to make sure that these donuts are good. Like the
Yeah.
quality is good, right? Because
Mhm.
I've seen expansions where people will go really quick
Yeah.
and open multiple locations, but then all of a sudden the quality drops.
Yeah.
And you're no
Mhm.
longer having the same donut or same whatever it was as you once had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
How do you maintain that same level of quality in Queen or
Right,
in
anal.
Parkdale now?
We're
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
so anal. Well, we make everything in Parkdale.
Got it.
So we make everything there and ship it to Kensington. So
Okay,
it's
got
not
it.
being made in Kensington anymore.
Got it.
And our dough makers, I'm always on their case.
Yeah.
So I'll come in, like my pastry chef's saying as well. So he'll check it and he'll be like, okay, this is not good today. Or I'll check it and be like, why are they looking bad? And I'll text the team and I'll be like, why are these bad? Why don't I get a text message about this? Why didn't you guys tell me that you had X, Y, and Z?
Sure.
And they know I'm just going to be on their case about it.
Yeah. Unreal, man. It's interesting because like the world of food is so different from
Mhm.
any other kind of business.
Yeah.
You know,
It's crazy.
Razik, he was the one who was like, dude, you kind of have to be a little crazy.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of have to be like a little like wild to think, okay, I'm going to be able to build this and grow it, because it
Mhm.
has to be like a labor of love.
Mhm.
Otherwise it's just going to get really difficult really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Is that what it worked for you? Like I knew this is what I want to do. I knew I wanted to do food.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always knew I wanted to own a business.
Yeah.
I always used to bake when I was a kid. Yeah, like I've always wanted to own a cafe or like a business or a bakery or some sort and just run it.
Unreal.
Basically. I can't do the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I hate people telling me what to do. I can't do it.
I can understand that, man. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I have to ask you. So I saw this thing online that you have a mixer named Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
What? Like,
'Cause
what is that?
I love hip hop,
Yeah.
and my company, I kind of want to make it as like an urban company or whatever like that.
Sure,
like
sure.
the brand or the vision or something.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted like the graffiti on the walls, etc.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then I was like, what can we name all of our equipment?
Yeah.
So when I saw my first mixer, which is still working to this day, we don't use it. It's still in Kensington,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, let's call it Dr. Dre because it produces donuts.
Unreal.
It's like a producer.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool.
yeah.
Well done. Well done.
I love these little puns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, for sure.
Yeah.
What's the next one? There's got to be another one now. It's got to be a follow-up to
There
Dr.
was
Dre.
a
It's got to be the next episode.
yeah. There you go. That'll be the next shop.
Thought you like puns, man.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
love it.
No, that's awesome, man. The one thing that I think about when I think donuts
Mm-hmm.
is like way too much sweet,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when I was watching some of your videos on your Instagram account, I noticed that you were so what's the word? Like meticulous about how sweet it actually was. It was
Yeah.
interesting because you were giving a review for your own donut,
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, like this hits.
Yeah.
You know, it's how is being online and talking about your product helped you? Has it been strange for you as an owner?
Mhm.
Like and now you're expanding that presence online. What's that been like?
So my aim in 2025
Yeah.
is to have more of an online presence.
Okay.
People buy into the authenticity of the brand.
For sure.
Social media is the way you make money. People love seeing things made. People love seeing things like I can show. If you see my followers and stuff on Instagram, I don't get that many likes. I don't get that many mentions, etc.
Mm-hmm.
The only time I do is when I do something silly or stupid, or I write a post being like, "Hey, I missed my alarm. I couldn't make it into the store on time. We're going to be opening up late," and that gets the most traction because you're authentic. Whereas if you're like, "Oh, this is us having fun today," and you're like making a coffee,
yeah,
people are like, "Oh, it's kind of gimmicky."
yeah,
And I'm trying to stay away from that. So my aim coming up is to do YouTube videos on how to make donuts, how to make our glazes, how to do X, Y, and Z, and then also talking about the fun of it and also the strain and struggles of owning a business.
Yeah, for
basically.
sure. I've seen some really, really cool stuff online from like local business owners who give you the real perspective of what it's like.
Mhm.
Like there's a few things that I've seen about everyone thinks that a CEO is like the head honcho of a business, but in reality they're the ones having to deal with everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that reality, that authenticity is so much more relatable.
Yeah.
And I think even things like this, like conversations about your background, your experience, your story building this thing, people can relate to, right? Like how have you seen that in action and work for you?
Yes. I've been really bad at social media. I hate it.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy it if it was the thing that I would
Scary,
have to do.
man.
But it's so hard.
Yeah.
I had a few social media managers I've had to get rid of. And I mean, social media managers charge like minimum $1,200
Wow.
to like $2,500 a month,
Unreal.
right? And that's a big chunk of change for a
For sure.
business. So they have to bring in $4,000 for you to be profitable.
For sure.
And so with my last one, we had to part ways, and we're really good friends, and she's an amazing person. And then I was like, let me start doing it myself, and because I have to save money because we're losing so much money. And I started doing it, and I was like, now I understand why they charge $1,200 to $1,500 to $2,500.
Crazy.
Because there's so much work that goes into it.
Yeah.
You have to do so much research in social media. You have to research what the trend is.
Yeah.
You have to find out I hate this word, viral.
Oh my
fucking
God.
hate the word.
God, I know.
Viral this.
I know,
This is the new
man.
viral shit.
Yeah,
It's so annoying. So you have to find out what trend is going on, and you have to find out. Then you have to curate your video to the right song, and then as it changes, you have to figure out like how it hits at a certain
I'm cringing
time.
right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But it's very interesting. I love it if it was the only thing I had to do.
Yeah.
But it takes like hours.
For sure.
Hours and hours and hours.
You don't realize it.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that myself, right? Like in promoting even this, right?
Mhm.
There's so much time that you don't realize that goes into making something online.
Mm-hmm.
And because you swipe right through.
Yeah.
You don't realize that, that one thing I just swiped through made or took hours to make.
Yeah.
You know? I get that. Do you find you have someone now that can do that for you and that you trust?
So I just brought on a social media manager. She's taking the photos and videos for me.
Yeah.
I'm still posting by myself.
Yeah.
But our aim, like we made a deal. I don't pay her as much as I was paying other guys. But we're like, if you can get me to get to a certain level and make more money, then I can pay you more, and then you do more, and then I can kind of back away from it.
Yeah, got
basically.
it.
Yeah.
Cool. I wanted to go back to you for a second
Mhm.
because now you're around for like almost 9 years now,
Mhm.
right? And congrats on a year
Thank you.
at in Parkdale now as
Mhm.
well. So now that you've done so much time in this business and that you're clearly passionate in growing it, what has been the hardest part about it? Like, give me the point where you were, the biggest challenge you faced so far.
It's still now.
Now?
This year has been probably the hardest year I've ever had in my life.
No way.
It's been definitely depression. Just definitely kicks in.
Yeah.
Because you're like when I opened up this location, my aim was I want people to enjoy the coffee, because I'm very not anal about coffee, not like the hipster, but like I just want people to enjoy their time.
For sure.
So we have coffee, donuts, other products, etc. And I thought in Parkdale, I'll be like, okay, we might make a little bit of a loss, but we'll be doing okay.
Yeah.
And we just didn't make money straight away. We did okay for a couple of months, and then massive jump.
Yeah.
And I'm walking around Parkdale, and I'm like, these coffee shops around here are doing really well, and why am I not doing well?
Mm-hmm.
Why are people not coming into my store? And then I realized two big things. One is, and I've been listening to a lot of YouTube videos with Gary Vaynerchuk and Alex Hormozy, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And people buy the brand. They don't buy the product.
So true.
And they buy the feeling of what other people want to feel when they buy the product. Like, I care so much about the product, I didn't give a fuck about the brand.
Yeah.
I was like, I got a logo, there you go.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I didn't realize I have to be like having influencers coming in and trying these donuts. I have to talk about the donuts themselves. I have to talk about the reason behind the donuts. I have to talk about the reason behind the store. And then also, when you have a bigger location, because my Kensington Market location is only 300 square foot.
Mm-hmm.
So I like not having to deal with people sitting down and having a coffee and stuff. I was like, you just get the donuts, get out.
Yeah.
Even though I love talking to people, it was just once you have a service play area, then you have to serve the tables, and you have to have a washroom, etc. So when we got the location, I banked on the fact that the location was beautiful. But every location that you go to is a feeling. Like, you want to go into a location, you go to any restaurant, and there's very few restaurants where you walk into it and it's a hole-in-the-wall, shitty place, but the good food.
Mm-hmm.
But usually, most of the places you go there and feel something.
Yeah.
Like, it might be the way people treat you, it might be the chairs, it might be something.
It's the experience.
Exactly. So when people go into a coffee shop, they expect to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And my thing was, I don't know anything about interior design.
Mm-hmm.
And interior design drives me crazy because I love everything. You can show me anything, I'm like, yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I got you.
I don't know like certain color palettes and all these different types of cushions to use and where to put your plant and all that type of shit.
Yeah.
And so I opened up the location, and I thought the brick walls will do it justice, and we'll figure out the artwork on the walls or whatever. But I realized that it's not a place where you feel comfortable. Even though my staff treat the customers very well. My main thing was customer service has to be on point.
Yeah.
You have to treat these customers like they're your family. You want to be treated like how you want to be treated when you walk into a place.
For sure.
If your customers, you can be the best barista, but if your customer service sucks, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
People want to be able to sit down and feel comfortable.
Yeah.
People want to be able to look at the wall and be like, oh, this will be a pretty cool place.
Yeah.
So it's the biggest struggle, especially when you have two really strong coffee places right next to you that have been around for a while, which have like a bakery next to it, and they make their own croissants, etc.
For sure.
You're like, I'm just a donut shop. And
Yeah.
people, when they look at donut shops, they don't think good coffee. They think it's a donut shop. And all they do is just donuts.
Right.
So it's trying to figure out in this location, and I know we can do well.
Yeah.
It's trying to figure out how to get the people in the neighborhood to love us,
Yeah.
to be part of the community. And you have to be part of the community. You have to be very, number one, you have to make the place look comfortable and good, but also you have to show that you are a strong part of the community. You care about the community.
Dude, it's like really nice to hear you say that, as much as I can tell it's been a challenge, right? Because the beauty, in my opinion, about small businesses, especially places like yours, is that you have that sense of community, right? Or you're trying to make that sense of community. Because the larger the business, generally, again, by and large, right? I've found that sense of community, that attachment to the brand or to the brand or to the company's owner is like no longer there.
Yeah.
Right? So what's really nice about Dipped is that you guys are at this sweet spot of like you're there. You know, like you're as much as hard as it could be, like you are the brand too, right? And I'm excited to kind of see how that brand building goes for you, despite how challenging it is.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, of course.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. What about the flip side? I mean, like 9 years now, what's been the most rewarding part of it all?
The most rewarding part of the business is seeing people eat the donuts.
Yeah.
Like literally when they bite into it and they're like, damn, this is fucking good.
Yeah.
Like it feels so good when they do that. And I'm like, be honest. If you don't like it, tell me.
Yeah.
Because I'm very critical. I'm
Yeah.
very critical on myself because I always want to be better.
Sure.
So like yesterday, a lady came into my store and she ordered the donut. Then she was looking at the coffee menu and she was like, I was like, do you want anything to drink? And she was like, oh, nah, it's okay. And as I'm bringing her up, she's like, how are your lattes? And I was like, oh, it's okay. Like, she goes like, how, like, I'm very anal about lattes. Like, how do you make it? Like, is it sour? Is it bitter? How do you make your milk, etc.? And I'm like, I'll be honest with you. We're not baristas. Like, we're not a trained coffee shop compared to the other place around the corner. But like, I think we make pretty good lattes. And the beans we use, the company called Angry Roaster in Kitchener, amazing company. People should buy Angry Roaster beans. They are, the guy's very anal about his coffee. And I was like, I tell you what, I'll make you a latte. If you don't like it, don't pay for it. Right? She's like, okay, cool. So then I made her a latte and then she drank it and there's a massive pause and then she drank it again. She goes, I'm going to pay for it. I really like this.
That's unreal.
I was like, sick. She goes, now I know a place where I can get a good latte. I was like, fuck yeah. Like,
that's awesome, man.
So it's that and then the experimenting.
Yeah.
Like I haven't been able to experiment much, but I have my team. So I'm pastry chef. He's a trained pastry chef, worked in hotels, etc. I've been with him he's been with the company for 2 years, not 1 year properly.
Yeah.
But he worked for us beforehand, like making dough back in 2021.
Yeah.
And he's been like he left the company, came back, left the company, came back. And I always saw him as a really good guy. So every time he needed something, I was always there to like lend him a hand.
Yeah.
And he joined the team properly and he's the pastry chef. And so when we're like brainstorming, I can see he loves testing things out. And I love tasting whatever he's testing. And then I'm like, listen, I think you should do X, Y, and Z. And then he'll come up with a technique and he'll be like, okay, I researched this. How about we do this? Like, cool, let's do it. And then we'll fuck around. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that. I'm so curious. Like, how do you figure out the types of donuts you're going to make? Like, is it, okay, it's fall. Let me make a Halloween donut or whatever it is. I saw that one that looked really, really good.
Yeah.
But like, what's that process like?
First we'll be like, okay, well, at first we were doing it seasonally.
Yeah.
Every 3-4 months we release a donut.
Yeah.
Now we're doing it every month.
Yeah.
So we're going to be switching into January. Once February hits, after February, every single month, we're going to switch out our menu completely.
Yeah.
So literally, we're just like, let's fuck around. Like, let's
go.
look around. What's the flavor in March? Like, we need a fruit flavor at least every single time.
Yeah.
So what's the flavor for March?
Yeah.
Okay, lemon or blueberry or something like that. So let's do
Gotcha.
blueberry something. Shall we bring back the blueberry basil? Shall we do a blueberry crumble? Shall we mess around and do blueberry jelly?
Yeah.
Shall we? And then you're like, okay, what needs to be the front forward flavor? So you're like, if you've got two flavors, do you want the blueberry to be strong or do you want it to be subtle? And then you're like, okay, what needs to be strong? And
This
then,
is like, like genius stuff.
It's
donuts,
fun.
Man.
It's very fun. And then you know different things like, we really want to do a pineapple yuzu donut.
Oof.
And yuzu is expensive, very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, okay, like pineapple is going to be the front forward flavor, but we know yuzu is going to be in the background. But we need to make sure, like, with the cost of yuzu, how much are we going to use to get that flavor out compared to using too much and then costing us too much to make, etc. So it's those type of little things.
Yeah. Unreal. It's kind of like someone's in the back cooking up this crazy concoction and trying things. It reminds me so much of the show Bear, where there's like in the back and just like trying to perfect it. You know what I mean? It's kind of how I see that. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, we're really anal. Like like even when it comes to coffee, every single thing we make in the place, like there's coffee shops in our area, I won't tell you their names, but they use like Tazo tea for their chai base and they make a chai tea latte. Whereas we make our chai tea base like from scratch. Assam tea, we boil it down with cardamom and cinnamon and some honey and all these different flavors, and then we strain it down and we cook it down so it's like much stronger.
Right.
Our mochas we try and get like locally sourced companies, so like our coffee's from a local roaster in Kitchener. Our chocolate's from Soul Chocolate.
Yeah.
And we make our mochas from that, and I know our mocha's on point. So like we try and do everything from scratch. Yeah, that's the aim. Unreal. Now expanding is going to be hard because when you're making it from scratch, you need to figure out how long it's going to last for, etc.
Yeah. This may be a tough question, but what's been the best donut you've made so far? Oh, not the most popular maybe, but in your mind the best donut.
It'll be the hazelnut crunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't do it anymore, but it's like a hazelnut pudding. Dark chocolate glaze, toasted hazelnuts, crunchy wafers, feuilletine, and mocha drizzle. Dang. I could eat one of those every single day. Dang. Why? Easily.
Are you going to bring it back?
We are, but it's going to be a drop. It's a very expensive donut to make.
Got it.
So we're going to bring it back for a drop for like a month and take it away.
Hopefully I can get in the front of the line for that. Yeah. I'm gonna make sure I'm there for that.
Yeah. But like everything there is great. Like there's a hot honey cruller that we have right now. Oh. Didn't expect it to do so well, and it just flies off the shelves. Unreal. We have a brown butter sea salt donut. That donut is like, I was supposed to have only had it for a month because we just had extra brown butter left. Yeah, I just put some sea salt on it. I like see some ideas for it, and it's just insane. Like people buy like 2 dozen of them, a dozen of just that one flavor. It's insane. Yeah,
nice, man. That's really inspiring. Man. Holy. Yeah. You were gonna mention one more.
I love anything spicy, so we did a maple pecan spice donut, and that was like a maple glaze and like a spicy crumble with cayenne pepper and pecans and stuff like that. And again, it's so good. Unreal. So good, yeah.
All right, I got one or two more questions for you, more so specifically about like your experience. So you mentioned like there are these ups and downs with running Dipped or any business for that matter. And, now that you've been doing it for 9 years, you've seen some of those waves, right? When you were at that research job before, like if you had the chance to talk to yourself then and be like, okay, what would you tell yourself in that moment when you had just started that research job?
Either way, I still would have left my job. Okay. I still would have opened up a company. But if it was in food, I don't know.
Really?
So, food, everyone says, like even the biggest people who own businesses that we follow, like Cody Sanchez and Andrew Huberman, Alex Hormozy, etc., like that. All of them are like, don't get into a restaurant business.
Yeah, we hear it all the time.
Yeah. Because the margins are so thin. Yeah. It's so insanely thin.
Yeah.
and you're dealing with so much stress, so many confounding variables, that it's just you stop enjoying the craft. Like in my mind, when I first opened the business, I was like, I'm gonna have multiple locations, just like Starbucks, all around Toronto, all around America, all around Canada, and we'll be killing it. And now I'm like, okay, I want to start, like, I still want to open up multiple locations, but people's also perception of donuts and stuff, people are more healthy now. So now you've got to figure out what's the market and how people are going to enjoy the donut still, or if you need to figure out a healthy version of this or whatever like that. And people's buying habits are different now the recession's kicking in, etc. So it's the restaurant business is very hard, so you don't get to enjoy what you went into it for.
Yeah,
you have to now think about, like, how am I going to do social media instead of how am I going to create this flavor?
Yeah,
how am I going to, like, you know, post this with the right music instead of how can I make this donut look better?
Yeah.
Whereas beforehand, back in 2018, yes, social media was kicking in and stuff, but like it definitely drove your business 100%, but it was more about the product.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know, like I still would tell myself back in the day, definitely leave your job and open up something else, but I don't know. I still think I would have gone into donuts.
Yeah.
I still think I would have opened up
that
a
love
coffee
for
shop or
Suzy
something.
Q's, man. It's so it's so deep.
Suzy Q's was great. Definitely hit it up, man. They're amazing.
Sure.
They're amazing. And I'm hoping I'm on par with them.
Yeah.
But I think if I did my research better in the field or knew how to price out things, definitely have done that. And
got it.
Also to anybody out there, have a business plan.
Yeah.
Have a business plan.
Yeah.
Like, I drew up so many business plans, but I didn't have it written up properly.
Yeah.
But I think if you have a business plan and your own business plans, like, I expect my company, and have it written down and put on your fucking wall. I expect my company to reach this level. The reason why is because X, Y, and Z. This is the reason we need to reach. This is the reason why I started the business. This is the hole I need to fill in this industry, or like the reason why I want, like, I don't think I have a hole, no pun intended, to fill with donuts. But my aim is to make people fucking love donuts.
Yeah.
And there's people that eat donuts, my donuts, and are like, I don't like donuts, but I love yours. And I was like, great.
That's good.
So I think to everybody and myself is like, have a vision, write it down, write down the company's vision, write down the company's mission statement, and follow it. And make sure your team are have the culture. You have the culture for your team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unreal, man.
And the team believes it.
Is there anything that you want to tell, like, your customers, the people that have gotten you to this point?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't for the customers, we wouldn't be here.
Unreal.
Like, it's the constant, the feedback we get, the repeat customers that always buy from us.
Yeah.
The recommendations that they give to everybody. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here.
Unreal.
And Canada's the biggest consumer of donuts in the world. So I'm glad we're part of that.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, Canadians are awesome, man. I love it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Dude. Amazing. Dude, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Business. I hope you had some fun.
Yeah.
I hope you got to share some stories, and I certainly enjoyed it. Thanks for everyone who's joined on this. I hope you get the chance to visit Dip Donuts in Kensington and on Queen Street in Parkdale. My name is Faheem Savja.
I'm Jiten Grover.
And hope to see you on the next episode of Behind the Business.
Thank you for joining us on Behind the Business. I hope today's story left you a little inspired and maybe one step closer to your own entrepreneurial dreams. Behind every business, there's a person with a vision and a story worth telling. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who may need a little inspiration too. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep building, and keep listening. This is Faheem Savja, signing off from Behind the Business.